we ran a campaign over about 3 years or so that, you know, went from everywhere from Portland in Western Victoria through up to Yakandanda to the Latrobe Valley, Ballarat, Melbourne, really getting out and talking to people around, you know, what kind of energy system do you want to see? Do you want to see more renewables, and how much renewable energy should we be building? And, you know, through that conversation and really highlighting the excitement for renewable energy that is out there in the community, like, you know, this is a very popular technology. We were able to convince the government, the Andrews government, that establishing a target for renewable energy was a sensible idea, particularly with the Abbott government at the time trying to destroy the industry. You know, when Abbott was in power, we saw, you know, changes to the national renewable energy target that saw investment collapse by 90%, 2,500 people lost their jobs. You know, that all has a really big flow-on impact to regional communities where this is an important form of economic development. But it's also got important consequences for the climate too. So that was a fantastic campaign. That policy, Victoria's renewable energy target of 40% by 2025, has been written into law, and now we're really getting on the way towards meeting that. So on the weekend we had the big announcement that the Andrews government is rolling out a new solar power plan, which is going to see 650,000 new households you know, get access to solar power, which is amazing. And at the same time, we're seeing investment flow back into the wind, large-scale wind and solar sectors, which is, you know, really, you know, basically enabling the development of new large-scale wind and solar farms throughout the state. It's creating jobs, it's bringing investment to regional communities, it's helping farmers. So it's, yeah, it's actually fantastic, really.
Yeah, we keep hearing stories about farmers that won't acknowledge climate change, but they do acknowledge renewables. Are you experiencing any of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll hear a whole range of different opinions out there in regional communities, and sometimes we get a one-sided story of what that looks like. The thing that, when it comes to climate change, I think the thing that I often hear, or we often hear, is people know that, you know, something is going on with the weather. The seasons are changing. So a lot of people, whether or not they're able to use the words climate change, will acknowledge that the seasons are changing. And so I guess as climate advocates, it's our responsibility to say, yes, that is because the climate is changing. We have a problem.
And you just came back from a holiday. You were in New South Wales. That's where you come from originally?
Yeah, so I took a week off from the campaign. And yeah, went back to my hometown of Ulladulla, which is on the south coast of New South Wales, which was great because I got to see my family. But it was also very surreal because at the moment in New South Wales, the state's in a grip of a drought. Victoria also, parts of Victoria also are in drought. But New South Wales is very, very dry at the moment. It's the middle of winter, and there was 80 bushfires across the state last week. I'm not too sure what the current number is right now, and there was quite a large bushfire in my hometown, just the Mount Kingaman fire, and I'd never personally seen a fire that early in the season at this time of year. It was just surreal.
So that's like looking climate change in the eye. You know.
Yeah, I think that would be a really good way of putting it. And I was just saying to Tony, like on the way home, going through Bega, you know, a very luscious green place, like just classic coastal dairy country. It looked like the central goldfields of Victoria. It was very, very dry. So I think coming back from, you know, just a week away in New South Wales where the effects of drought are very, very apparent, yeah, climate change is very front and centre of my mind. And ultimately that's why we get out there and we talk about renewable energy. But, you know, that's also because there's a positive story to acting on climate change.
Yeah, that's right. But listen, in the Liberal Party and in the National Party, you know, who are supposed to represent the farmers, we hear again and again and again the same argument, which basically is this very simple argument that, you know, we are so tiny in this big world. You know, you could also say that at an individual level. So what difference does it make? You know, even if we were to stop polluting tomorrow, the rest of the world just goes on. Here's Barnaby Joyce, our favorite butterfly whisperer, as we call him, because he was the one who said, you know, if you live with the butterflies, you'll die with the butterflies. Very famous quote of this man. Now, he's certainly not a man of principles when it comes to cleaning up in front of his own door, you know, when you throw garbage out. Here's what his point of view is, and I keep repeating this because this is really deep in the understanding and thinking of the Liberal Party and the National Party, that, you know, what difference does it make anyway?
If I thought that there was something we could do in Canberra, that honestly, that we'd all go into that big wonderful chamber and vote on an issue that would actually change the climate and make it wetter, then I'll move the motion and we'll do it. This is a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of a fraction of a fraction, and somehow that's going to affect global climate. It won't.
Says Barnaby Joyce, and therefore let's do nothing. Let's dig up some more coal and burn as if we didn't know that there was a thing called climate change.
Let's make it worse.
You know, but what do you say? What is the argument that really is solid and valid, that makes us see that this doesn't hold?
Yeah, I think that I've probably got two responses to this. It's a very strange kind of argument to make. You know, we don't hear people making this argument when they talk about economic development. You know, I think when Abbott was in power, you know, we had the government come together and they brought all the major economies together in Australia, and they said, we're going to have a target to grow the global economy by 2%. And, you know, when it comes to economic growth, I think that the Liberal Party understands that when Australia's economy grows, the global economy grows. It's the same with our emissions. You know, when Australia's emissions grow, we are contributing to global climate change. So that's one aspect. That's kind of like a technical argument. But at the same time, we're also, you know, if you're choosing to ignore the opportunities, you're foregoing the jobs that are being created by acting on climate change. You're foregoing the cheaper power that's being created by building more renewable energy, whether that's wind or solar or rooftop PV. You know, you're foregoing all of these benefits. So, yeah, it's irresponsible on a few different levels. And at the same time, there are many, many, many countries that are acting on climate change. So the biggest examples are places like China. But there are lots of countries, you know, I don't have the exact statistics, but if you add up all the countries that have the same contribution to climate change as Australia, you basically have one of the largest.
Yeah.
It's like a massive contributor. It'd be like the size of, you know, the US or something like that. I'm not saying it's directly the US, but it's a significant. It's like one of the
We're
largest.
world leaders when it comes to pollution. That's it.
Yeah, unfortunately, but we can change that.
For green, clean, sustainable Geelong. The Sustainable Hour.